Hi, this is Akshay. Thanks to the Test Chat community to giving this opportunity to me. So today we are going to discuss about the perception and its role in the life and in the testing. Here we could see the spiral and these dots represent the different levels. So levels of perception. Here, as you could see in the image, who is right, Emma or Bob or both? Emma sees this figure as 6, but Bob sees this figure as 9. Emma perceives it differently and Bob perceives it very differently, right? In this example also, the person over here thinks and counts this as a 4 blocks, but person over here thinks and counts this as a 3 blocks, right? Perspective. What is the role of perspective? These goggles represents the different perspectives. Black glass goggles and the yellow glass goggles. Whichever we wear, we see the different world, right? So, what could be impediments toward the clarity, right? What could be the challenges uh, in the clarity? If we wear the glass of the opinions, we could see distorted world. Also, if we wear the glass of prejudices, we see the distorted world and not the clear world, not so clear world, right? Also, if we wear the glasses of conclusions, we don't see the world as it is. If we wear the glass of beliefs, we don't see the world as it is. So, we tend to perceive differently, right? Here, we could see this is a partial but correct view. Also, this is a partial but correct view. This is the reality. So, which means disagreement does not imply that those who oppose you are all wrong, right? So, we should always try to avoid conflicts by understanding each other's perspectives because we perceive world differently depending on what goggles that we are wearing, right? This is true. This is true. But conflicts evaporates when we embrace rather than suppress our emerging realization that our differences are actually similarities waiting to find common grounds, right? So the reality is common, just our perspective is different. That's why we are seeing things differently. Similarly, in the example of the tester and developer, tester's perspective could be different, developer perspective could be different, depending on the what software version, the environment, the resources in the tester's machine, and the different it could be the resources could be different on developer's machine. Software versions could be different uh, on the developer's machine, or there could be a bug, right? Could be anything. So basically, the motto over here is understanding the other person's perspective, right? What is the way forward in it? To know better, what do we do? We ask questions, right? To pursue better, to know better, what do? We ask questions. So we could use this technique, 5W1H technique. What, where, why, who, when. Do not hesitate to ask these questions if you want to understand things better. So here is an example. Suppose these are person A, B, C, D, each having own set of limited perception depending on the past experiences and conclusions they have made, the opinions and the experiences. All these persons hold the limited perceptions, right? So here, need of raising the level of perception is, which means from this level raising to this level, right? Person E can understand both person A's and person B's limited perceptions, and if person A tends to conflict with person B, person E can intervene and resolve the conflict very easily because he is acting at enhanced level of perception, next level of perceptions. Here also, if person E and person F tend to conflict with each other's opinions and ideas, person G can easily intervene and sort the things out, right? So the overall motto is from raising from this level of perception to this level of perception, and from this level of perception to this level of perception. It can go on and on and on. There is no the levels are there is no for levels there are no numbers. So what we know is very limited and what we don't know is infinite, right? So here is a technique, perception checking technique that we can use to avoid the biases, to avoid the conflicts. Perception checking is a tool that helps prevent misunderstanding and conflict. The goal of perception checking is mutual understanding, right? Next, here, perception checking technique, which says a perception checking statement is a message you create to check your understanding of someone's words or behavior. The benefits of perception checking statements include helping us decode message more accurately. Our goal is mutual understanding, and reducing defensiveness and the potential for conflict, and help us avoid assuming too much. We should not assume too much, right? So here is an example of how we can apply perception checking technique. Description of the behavior notice. You haven't called in the few days. So two possible interpretation of the behavior can be here. I am not sure whether you are upset with me or you have been busy. So what is the solution? Request for clarification. Just ask what's going on. Rather than assumptions, just request for the clarification. Right? What is the way forward? Understanding each other's perspective. Need of raising perception for overall well-being. Try not to identify yourself with limited perception. Try not to overly attach to the opinions and conclusions you have made. Transparency and communication to get stakeholders and people on same page is a way forward, right? Past experiences are not there to become impediments in clarity of perception, but to evolve humanity by learning from our mistakes, right? Moving from I approach to we approach, not always thinking about I. We need to think about we approach and win-win situations for both of parties to avoid any conflicts, right? Furthermore, knowledge is a power, but unknown is vast. To know, first we need to perceive, right? This is the prerequisite. Knowledge, how do we get knowledge? Through our sense perceptions, through our social perceptions, through our psychological perception, right? So to perceive better, we need to sharpen and enhance our sense perception, social perception, psychological perception. So enhancing means raising our perception, right? Nature of life itself is evolutionary, right? Not about perfection. Here we are at the peak of evolution, human being. So what matters is we strive to be better, not perfect, right? Only what you perceive, you know. Rest is all imagination. Let's move further. What is the way forward for testing? As per my experience, these are the pointers that I have jotted here. Planning phase. We should emphasize on planning phase to avoid any confusion and conflicts, right? Test planning phase, right? Then planning of action items. Who will perform what? Action owners, right? It could be in the form of the table also. Regular call calls to avoid communication gaps. Understanding developers, POs, end users perspective. PO means product owner, right? Presenting own perspective to them, right? We should understand their perspective and present our own perspective to them also, right? To avoid any gaps. Retrospective meetings after each project and phase. Then research on various testing perspective, techniques, strategies, taking advice from the test experts, referring to the test blogs, and uh, being part of the test communities would really help the tester to move forward in their career. Thank you. Here we are at the end of the slide. So the motto of this slide is to understand the need of raising the perception. So as we could see here, this spiral which is going outwards, which indicates the raising of perceptions. Let's raise our perception for overall well-being. Thank you. Thanks to the test chat community for the opportunity. Bye.